EU and the UK have set out markedly different
check the door is shut.
Coronavirus, Donald Trump's impeachment. Iowa caucuses, that's going to be nothing like going for it, is there?
One thing that this little GoPro will do is give some new camera angles anyway. Now it's odd that I didn't get any electricity through to those terminals, but what it was, the cage clamp, the cage nut, was in front of the conductor. It didn't tighten up on the conductor. So when I turn my headlights on, the radio goes on silent. There. Turn the headlights off. Radio. Headlights on. Radio on silent. Off. On. Side lights. It works. Headlights on. Doesn't work. Good morning. I'm not using the GoPro yet because I haven't sorted out how to upload the footage. We're back at the restaurant, beginning of an EICR. I came over yesterday, Sunday, and just saw the fuse boards and realised that there's about 40 odd circuits or more, and 3 boards, so it's a big one. They're closed during Monday mornings, so it's going to have to be scattered along the next few weeks to get this done. The access to some of the sockets and everything is terrible. Today it's just an inspection of the emergency escape lighting, an inspection of that. So we're gonna off the electricity now. It's 9 o'clock, and just see how long they last, and make some notes on what they've got. This installation has 3 boards and possibly 4, one I can't get to. So these are all labelled. There's 18 there and 10 there. So there's 28 circuits here, and then the complete other separate half of the premises is in this kitchen area, which is quite crowded, and I can't get to it because of this filing cabinet, so that will need to come out. It's a 3 stack board with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, possibly 7 circuits on there, 10 circuits on there, and 9 circuits on there. So what's that? 9, 10, 19, 25 circuits, something like that. Unfortunately, these are not labelled either. These circuits are not labelled. Now, I've just carried out a test, an exhaustive, pretty well exhaustive test, although it didn't need to be, of the security emergency light system. And to cut a long story short, only one of them is operating as required. The others either are completely dead or just don't light up enough to give any benefit, so they're pretty well all got to be replaced. These escape lights here are self-contained, maintained emergency lights, but on failure of the supply we got no illumination. Now, I've already said that I can carry out the required EICR, otherwise I'm going to put a limitation on the whole of this board because of access. And also behind here there seems to be, see that looks like another board to me there, and it's slightly hanging off the wall as well, so it doesn't look that healthy. There's a big mains isolator there, which is totally inaccessible. So we're getting an idea, aren't we, of what we're up against here. Let me just count the number of circuits here and we'll work out a price. Yeah, so it's 26 circuits plus 28 circuits, 54 circuits. So you're looking at £1,080 plus £1,160, something like that. But £1,200 for an EICR here. I've been sitting here for the last hour or two. It's coming up to 5 o'clock now. I took an hour at lunch and I started at not till 9. But it is quite a massive job here. But I feel by starting the certificate, going through the checklists, it just sort of calmed me down a bit. You know, reminding me what to look for. Additional bonding, what do we call it here? Other protective bonding connections. Yeah, condition of other protective bonding connections. I'm hesitating a bit because we've got these two commercial kitchens with stainless steel sideboard and preparation areas, and although they're not extraneous or extraneous, I have seen in some places I've worked, I've seen them all supplementary bonded to the electrical system. In this case, where I've inspected behind the bar, there is a 10 or a 6mm cable coming out of one of them off a dedicated terminal on the table, but it's not connected into the system. So I need to just get my head around whether they need to be supplementary bonded. They do have electrical appliances on them. There's a glass washer on one, there's a fridge below one, and there are leads hanging down and touching with their sheathing. So not their basic insulation, but the sheathing, secondary insulation, touching the units. So I don't know whether it should be supplementary bonded. My feeling is they should possibly be supplementary bonded, seeing as they do have dedicated terminals on them for supplementary bonding. The bonding on the copper water pipes coming up into some of them, I need to test. So that's a bit of a grey area at the moment. I haven't started in the restaurant. There's another, whatever it is, 25 circuits in here. There's 28, there's 27 or 26 circuits in here, and 28 circuits to do in there. I've noticed, as you've seen, that consumer unit behind one of the big fridge units, which must be immovable. It must weigh a ton or more. That, I think, it's been quite useful having the previous EICR, because that's noted as behind one of the cookers. That's where I had to go off at lunchtime to check about a consumer unit change in April that had its own problems. The consumer unit was mounted at 90 degrees, and there seems to be a bit of a need to move the meter and the intake around the meter, so to create some space for the board. Anyway, you'll see what the problem was. We're just coming here to have a look at possible board change in a few weeks' time. He wants a quote, but this is the problem. Oh God, there isn't much space in the cabinet. So it's an old 1980s board, and they've mounted it at 90 degrees, and we've been discussing about maybe moving this up, putting a smart meter down here, freeing up this space for a 10-12 way board to go in on the right orientation. So if anyone's got any ideas, just leave your comments down below. Thank you. A few little things to show you.
And my boyfriend at the time.
In the kitchen here. Supply is PME, it's 3-phase plus they've got 4 fuses out there, all online, 2 on the blue line, 2 100 amp on the blue line. The blue line, red, yellow, blue, the blue line feeds the single phase side of here, and the other 3 feed the 3-phase, and all the 3-phase does is it goes through to a fuse switch. And the only thing that powers, a 32 amp fuse switch, powers this oven here. So this just powers the one oven, and that's the flex coming out there. Meanwhile, the other blue phase comes in here to a switch through a 100 amp BS88 fuse, and that is now, unfortunately, somebody's stuck. So that's got the sub main to DB3, as we call it, the main DB over there, single phase DB, which is in a bit of a state. However, that's not the problem. The problem is they've also put this little single way consumer unit in it with a 32 amp breaker, which is fine, 6mm cable coming out to feed a 32 amp socket, which I'll show you, which has its own issues. But the sub-main for this DB is 6mm, only protected by this 100 amp fuse. As you can see, they've stuffed it in with the 25mm, which is protected at 100 amps. So they've stuffed it in there, and then the neutral is stuffed in the bottom as well. This 6mm cable, which forms the sub-main for here. And then this goes off twin and earth with 2.5mm CPC in that not very good mini trunking, and then it sort of hooks underneath the cladding there. And then my issue with that is it comes out of this stainless steel, which is quite jagged. You can see the twin and earth emerging there, right next to a gas pipe, so no separation with other services, and no protection on that stainless steel, which isn't ideal either, and it comes up into this, which doesn't look like it's being used. So presumably I can just disconnect that whole shower. I'll just disconnect it all and tell him. The other thing is that this is also coming off the wall. It's not well fixed, so it's coming off the wall, because this is set into the cladding in a not very efficient way, and the lid was glued on with silicone. This one, the lid is glued on with tape, so altogether not very pretty. In the previous EICR, that sub-main is listed, well, from the fuse switch, we just got written in one circuit, and it's in, you can't see this, but it says sub-mains, plural, DB3, DB2. So where it should be 2 separate, they've just put sub-mains, plural, and then as applied to both of them, 25mm on the live and 25mm on the CPC, which it isn't, it's 16mm on the one to DB2, and it's 2.5, not 25, to DB2, yeah, to DB2, and it's 16 to DB3. So that's all wrong. Maximum disconnection time, that's alright. Alright, I've taken a fair amount of time looking at DB3, and a few little things about it here. First of all, we come in with the 25mm sub-main here from DB2, I think. DB2, yeah. And if you look here, the neutral is damaged and I can see copper under it there. Just needs covering over, but that's not easy to do because there isn't a lot of space in here. There are no grommets on the feeds to the circuits there. I suppose a minor point. All the terminations have copper showing just about. This one has probably 1/4 of an inch sticking up out of there of copper. Then we have the bus bar from main switch goes along here. It only carries as far as this MCB. This MCB is then supplied by an RCD, which is just as well because that is the bar area sockets. So he's fitted one in quite ingeniously here. It's fed from under here, the main switch, as well as having the bus bar. It has a 16mm braided, or 25mm braided, maybe 25mm braided, that goes into the top of the RCD, both neutral and line. And then out of the bottom of the RCD here, it feeds this ring, and then it comes down and feeds, so it's a split board, all these, and then out of this MCB, a 32 amp MCB, bus bars in the front, 25mm in the back, comes down and feeds that bank of MCBs. So these are all protected by one RCD. And the RCD also feeds this neutral bar here, this neutral bar here, and I suppose from there this neutral bar here. Now this neutral bar here is fed only by the RCD and not by the main switch. So the main switch feeds the neutral bar via the RCD, which is a bit complicated and I haven't got my head around that yet. But I think that will be for examination next week, when I'm back here next Monday. As it is, they need to use the kitchen, so I'm going to plaster this all back up. There's a couple of things here as well. You'll notice a 1mm cable here coming out of a 32 amp MCB. Same thing here, 1mm cable, 32 amp MCB. That's an undesignated circuit. It's not certain what that is because on the previous EICR the numbering is wrong. It might be outside lights, but it looks like it goes off into, yeah, it goes off into here. Then there's, yeah, so this socket here, this one socket is fed with a 2.5mm cable conductor into, again, 32 amp MCB there. Then there are some broken MCBs, the top are cracked, so exposed live parts there, but only exposed to the rest of the enclosure. There's a couple of odd MCBs here. This one I've never heard of, Etimat, and there's a Hager which has been swapped from a 32 on a 6mm cable up to a 40 amp for a dishwasher here. So that's as far as I've got today with that. I've made a few notes and I've done a few tests. I'll close it up now so they can use the kitchen.